Woody Woods received a path change overhaul that is greatly appreciated. On the original board, we had these two skeleton gates. The top one can be used if you'd like to take the lower route in case the sign forces you to take the higher one. Thing is, unless a star spawned here, the higher route is almost always the better one to take because of Boo. And how do you get to him? Board-wise, your only real option is to pass the sign when it's facing left. In Superstars, this route was reversed, meaning that you no longer travel it from top to bottom, but bottom to top. This lessens the frustration of wishing the sign will point you to Boo by giving you an alternative method of visiting him by taking the skeleton gate using the skeleton key. And that's not the only reason why you may want to take this new route. You may have noticed that there's not one, not two, but 3 Koopa banks on this board. We already knew that there was one on the right and up top, but I didn't expect that there would be a third behind Mario's mustache. What this does is creates a situation where if you're at this junction and have a skeleton key, then you have a higher chance of landing on the bank space since you're 2 away from the one on the lower route and 6 away from the one on the higher. Yet another way that the skeleton key's been buffed for this board. But hold on, it just keeps getting better. The bottom skeleton gate originally had you go down, which was good if you wanted to loop back around for an item or another shot at taking the left path, but reversing it like they did in Superstars makes it so you can choose to go on the right path instead of leaving your fate up to the signs. I can see why some people may prefer the old route for this one, but I much prefer skeleton keys giving the players a choice and where they want to go over redoing a part of the board they already went through. The bottom left part swapped out one of the sign changing moles for an additional item shop, of which there are now 3 of, up from 2. This is a much better incentive for players to take this route. I get that in the original board you could head down so you can switch the signs around and screw over your opponents, but that's just in theory. In practice, you'll likely have to wait a turn to mess with the signs because the mole is 9 spaces away, meaning there's a good chance that your opponents will have already gotten past the signs you wanted to mess with by the time you get to mess with them. I think Superstars devs realized how far away this event was, which is why they moved what's now the item shop to only 4 spaces away instead of 9. On the top left part of the map, they turned what was originally only 1 item space into 3, so I can tell that they really want players to have items on this board. I've gotta say, I didn't know if they were gonna do a Mario Party 3 board justice, but here we are. I still would have preferred Spiny Desert or Chilly Waters, but this was the next best thing. The next best thing being if we got Waluigi's Island, but you can only get a board if you're in Smash, so screw that guy, am I right? Yoshi's Tropical Island, not my first pick for an additional Mario Party 1 board, but this may turn out better than expected. One of the main issues that others, myself included, had with Super Mario Party was its coin economy and how easy coins were to come by, cause if everyone's rich, then the currency kinda loses its value. In the previous board, we saw 3 banks, which will be sucking up players' coins. Here, we have a board where 2 of the paths are blocked by thwomps who won't let you pass unless you pay a fee. The fee always starts at 1 coin, but goes up by at least 1 coin each time a player pays to pass. The fee can never lower, its limit is 50 coins, and the 2 thwomps do not share the same fee. That's how the original Mario Party does it, and if Superstars does the same thing here, then you can choose to pay many more coins than the previous amount to make either of the paths inaccessible to players that are too poor to pay the fee. This may correct the coin economy problem in a way, since if players end up having a lot of coins in this title, then a board like this may be great since it'll deplete a lot of money as players attempt to screw one another over. Ideally, the coin economy wouldn't need this roundabout way of being fixed and shouldn't be a problem to begin with, but it's nice to know that there's a board to combat it should it be a problem. The board itself seems to be fairly unchanged for the most part. The junction's paths haven't been altered, and the space changes they made aren't exactly major. They did of course add an item shop which can be found on the left island, and they probably added another one on the right island, but I can't see it from this angle. If this place ends up having only 1 item shop, which it won't, I'm sure, but if it does only have 1, then trying to adapt to this board mechanic where Bowser and the star switch places may end up being as annoying as it was in the original original title. I love how they redid Peach's birthday cake by giving players options in the forms of items and new junctions, and would have loved to see a little more here with this island considering I don't like its mechanic all that much. I wanted a redone version of Mario's Rainbow Castle or Luigi's Engine Room, but for what it's worth, I don't think this board is bad per se, just mediocre. Horrorland! You have no idea how happy I am that it's here. This board is a contender for my favorite one in the whole series, and I am ecstatic that it got put in over the likes of Mysteryland. If the previous boards, Yoshi's Tropical Island aside, have been any indication, the devs have been doing a great job at reimagining these boards by getting rid of what didn't work and buffing up what did, and I'm glad to say that they did my boy Horrorland justice. This place, like Woody Woods, now has 3 banks instead of the usual 2. On the original board there was one at the start and one along the right side, but in Superstars they added one and spread them out a bit more, with one still being present at the right, one being at the top, and one being on one of the left paths. Again, I have to reiterate, adding an additional bank is good, because it'll likely be a lot easier for players to get coins in this game as opposed to the original titles these boards were made for. Sure, more banks means more of a chance for a player to get everything in a bank, but the gameplay before that point, where players keep losing coins to banks that are evenly spread across the board, I see as a decent trade-off. There being only one item shop on the original board wasn't that big of a deal because you could only carry one item in Mario Party 2 anyways, but if they made it so Superstars version of this board only had one item shop where we can carry multiple items, then that would be awful. Good thing they added 2 more item shops for a total of 3. One's in the original location, one's right after the right bank, which is kinda mean, and one's on the left side. In addition to the amount of banks and item shops, I'm also happy with how they've been spread fairly across the board. It doesn't feel like one part of the board is oversaturated, which is good. Horrorland has a day-night cycle that it shifts between every 2 turns, and of course they kept that here, which means if you want to pass a womp during nighttime, that you must pay to pass. Which boos are available are also affected by this mechanic, and from what I can see, the boos that are active during nighttime in the original are also active in nighttime in Superstars as well, and same goes for those that are active during the day. They really stuck to what made the original board tick and only changed the parts that wouldn't have transitioned well into Superstars gameplay, such as the lack of item shops and banks in the original. Overall, I'm pretty happy with what they did to Horrorland. On to the minigames, or so you thought. Look, we need to talk. I haven't been excited for a Mario Party release in over a decade. I could sit here and analyze every minute detail on the website or either of the trailers and learn a ton about what the game will contain and spoil all the surprises for myself, or I could leave some things hidden for myself until I play the game for the first time on stream on my Zoomzyke live channel on October 29th release day at around 3 p.m. Pacific time. And who knows, maybe I'll dress for the occasion considering Halloween's coming up. Set a reminder for that date and time so you can join me and everyone else as we venture through what will most certainly be an experience baked in nostalgia. See you then.